So, if you know me well, or follow my YouTube channel, you will know that I cannot keep a car for more than 10 minutes. And once again, I've done that. Now, what I have replaced the Citroen for is something rather boring, rather sensible, but quite interesting. And what I want to explain to you is I've just recently started up a business called Limitless Automotive that goes bang on alongside Limitless Media, which you are seeing now. And what this is me going around travelling all over the UK, a lot of the time up north, and fixing French stuff. Although I do others, I do other cars, but mostly French, Peugeot Citroen. So if you've got a vehicle, Peugeot Citroen, you want servicing work done, modification work done, or you need a scan, maintenance, all that sort of stuff, then I'm the man to message and to find out more. So I'll put a little description below of what the business is and how you can find me. I'm on Facebook and I am on Instagram so far with the new business page, and of course here's a logo next to me now, like that. So what that requires is a sensible car. Now the reason why I'm walking in the wilderness is because I have bought something sensible. Rather boring, but it is quite cool and a little bit different. And the whole build and design of this car is based around being a practical daily driver, but it's going to be a little bit of an overlanding twist to it. So that might throw you a few hints. So without further ado, let's jump to the car and have a little look at it and explain to you more about it. Because you're thinking, why have I bought a £2,500 family car? That is not very cool. But you'll soon find out, A, a good deal, maybe, and B, why it's quite unusual. So, as you are all aware, I don't keep cars too often. Now, the reason why this is here is for one big reason, and it's actually really super important. So if you didn't know, and I will do a separate video about this, I'm self-employed, doing my own vehicle work, as well as all my media stuff and things as well. And the problem I have is, the work I do is all the way up north a lot of the time, sometimes around London, but very far up north, Midlands. I say north, Midlands. And the C5 wasn't going to be the car for it, because we're going to be moving into the worst season of the year for weather, and front-wheel drive probably isn't going to crack it. And the problem is, right, it's kind of vital for me to earn money to live, so I need something that's going to be able to get me through treacherous weather. It's going to be a little bit more accustomed to hardcore weather, a bit more than what the front-wheel drive Citroen will do. So it's quite boring, it's quite sensible in a way, but this, as I said to you in the title, is quite rare. So I'll explain why it's rare, or the version of this is rare. The 3008 as it stands isn't very rare, but this is quite an uncommon one. Now, for those that know about them, probably not many, because who's really interested in this sort of car? There's a few little special features that might suggest to you that something different is going on here. But we're going to walk around the car and I'm going to tell you why I bought it. And basically, it sucks because I have to do something a bit boring for once, which is to put something practical over something fun. So this is the outcome for that. And I will explain to you why this 3008 is quite uncommon, and hopefully try and sell you to it. Because for £2,500, it isn't too bad. But I thought what we'd do, before we go around and talk about all the cool bits, is we'll talk about the bad bits first, because there's just a few of them. So, yeah, without further ado, let's look at the bad stuff, and then we'll look at all the good stuff, because there's way more good than bad with this car here. So, problems. Where do we start? So, my £2,500 3008 Hybrid 4 isn't completely perfect. Hybrid 4 might give you an idea of what's lurking underneath the shell of this fairly unassuming medium-sized family car. But as we go, we'll talk about problems. So, not really very major, but this isn't meant to be like this. The previous owner decided that self-tapping screws was a permanent fixture over just fitting the right bits, so that's not meant to be like that. This also, when I'm on full lock, does rub on the inside. I don't think this has been mounted properly. I think this is probably broken. So I'm going to take the wheel off and sort all this out. But that's really quite minor. And as you see with the car itself anyway, it's actually quite clean. I've actually done quite well for once. I will say I'm slightly lacking on the headlight condition. This one has got the classic Peugeot yellowing, although, you know, this happens to all cars. But I've got sort of yellowing along the top. I've almost got like a natural eyelid on the headlights here. This one's worse. So the yellowing isn't really a big deal, but that's something that I'm going to want to do. So that's another thing that's maybe slightly wrong with it, I guess. and there is another one, probably a bit more major. It's sort of, now I've had the car for a few days, or almost a week now by the time I videoed this. I have noticed that some of the suspension is rather worn. Now, I'm revealing to you about the car now because I can't hide it any further. This is a diesel hybrid. So the front end of the 3008 is the same as the standard car. Of course, I'll show you some videos now. Standard suspension. That's a McPherson strut with a single lower arm and drop link. Very basic in its design, but cheap and effective for its use. The rear end, a little bit different. So on the rear end, as you're going to see now, they had to fit a rear differential, battery pack, hybrid system. So this here was the first ever diesel hybrid that Peugeot made, and as far as I'm aware, it's the first hybrid they also made, so that's quite cool. Now, what that means is when they made this, they had to adapt the subframe. So the subframe they've used is off of what I class as the higher class platforms. So your Citroen C5s, your C6s, your Peugeot 407s. The rear subframe from this is completely different. So while the front subframe and suspension assembly is what you'd find more on a Peugeot 308 or something more standardised, this is what you'll find on the more premium cars. Now, the problem with that is it comes with complexity and cost. Now, the rear of this obviously has been adapted to slightly more to adapt for the rear motor hybrid system in the back there. But basically, this is a multi-link rear suspension setup and a McPherson front. Now, the problem is with all of these, I'm telling you, I had the same. I'll see if I've got some photos now. If I haven't, I apologise. But when I had my 407 Coupe, I've actually had two, in fact. Both of them, the rear end really was quite saggy on the back, and then the front end was always quite high. And again, I've got the problem here with this Peugeot, where the rear end is sagging. And that's basically because of the design of the suspension on these. It appears that my rear shocks are both leaking, so this will naturally put more pressure onto the springs, which are then compressed, and of course all of the lower arms and suspension underpinnings here are quite rough. You can see it there, not the best. One of the advisories on the MOT was a bit of surface corrosion, but as you can see, nothing structural at all. But because of this, obviously the rear end is sitting low, and I'll show you a photo now. This is with 5 alloys I put in the back, alloys and tyres. Obviously that gives you a hint as to what's coming soon. You can see that it is very close to the ground there, so that's not really ideal. So that is something that needs to be fixed, and there is, when loaded, sort of a shocky, springy knock. So I would say the rear shocks have had it, if I'm honest, on the rear of the car. But this has done around 115,000. This is obviously at the end of the facelift shape as well, so this is a a early 2013 model, so just before the facelift. So it's done the miles, it's had the age, the suspension needs refreshing. Now, the really cool thing is something I'm going to tell you at the end is going to be happening soon, which you're going to love. But just remember, suspension. And as we walk around this beautiful 3008, you can see that there isn't really much else wrong. Obviously, the plastics front and rear are grey and they need painting. But yeah, it's a really, really clean car. As clean as it looks. There's a few little minor imperfections, but overall it's very tidy, I must say, for the age of it. Now, the only thing that isn't tidy, of course, which I guess is part of the issue, isn't really an issue as such, but of course the wheels have been met with the curb quite a few times, especially on the front. And these wheels are an optional extra for this car when it came from factory. So these were an optional choice. Yeah, in my opinion, I don't really like them. It's a bit of a weird design for Peugeot themselves because they never tend to do a self-centered hubcap, which blends in with the wheel. They tend to just typically do open nuts. So it's a bit of an interesting design from them, but certainly not my cup of tea. As you can see, they're letting down the overall aesthetic of the car, due to the condition of them. But overall, I really can't fault it. So for $2,500, I would say I've done quite well. Now, the mainstay market for the hybrids is typically, with this mileage, is typically around £3,000 or £4,000 retail, depending on condition. And they had 2 specs of these. They had a lower spec model. These are detailed with the 16-inch rims. And then the higher spec models had the 17s either with this shape as the optional extra, or they did another shape I'll put in here now as well. So yeah, that denotes it from the outside. Now, obviously, while we're here as well, we'll just talk about some distinguishing features between the standard 3008 and this car here as well. So, of course, around the car, you'll have all of the hybrid badging. And this is also offset with a few additional little features. So this bumper on the back has the rear metal guard. That's not normally part of the standardised bumper pack for the 3008. You also have the gloss inlays on the lower doors here. This could be spec, but this is a factory option. And of course, as we come around the front, the biggest changes were separate headlights for the hybrid. So they had the DRL strips into the headlights. Only came on these, so that's a very rare option. And the front grille was also different as well. So there was a few little adaptations and changes. Most of it was made inside, which is where we're going to jump into now. So hello, and welcome into the cabin. I'm going to try not to knock my camera off. Oh. So, the cabin. A lovely place to be. Now, I will admit, this steering wheel is new. I had a spare one of these in the garage. The original wheel was in a very poor condition. All this was all flaking off. So I have taken the airbag and the steering wheel from the new steering wheel. I'm going to replace this. This little hybrid piece here is an interchangeable, but nice touch. So that's a little touch to the hybrid spec you don't get on the original. There's also hybrid face plating inside the doors as well. Normally it'd be in the carpets, but my carpets have gone, which is quite sad. And in the boots as well, I'll show you the boot cover also comes with the hybrid 4 badging as well. So yeah, lots of nice little premium touches. Now I'm going to grab the camera now and show you a bit more in depth in the interior, because there's a few other little differences that you get with this car. Not only is it pretty much fully loaded, but there's a few minor changes, so I'll just show you. The 3008 hybrid has its own gear shifter, completely different to all of the rest of them. It's meant to be a premium looking knob set up there. Rather weird one on the hand when you're changing between the modes. And what's weird is the shifter pattern on here is opposite to what's on the central display screen here, which I'll show you in a moment, which is a bit weird. But that is that. Also, of course, you get the hybrid 4 multi-switch button. This enables the different modes. So you've got an automatic mode where the car will do its thing. You've got a sports mode, which sucks the power, or the most power, out of the gearbox, engine, and the rear motor. Sort of harmonises it together. It's quite a nippy package, I must admit to you. It's quite nippy. We have the 4-wheel drive option, which permanently will send power directly, electrical power that is, to the rear motor. So even when you run out of actual hybrid battery juice, you can still have a permanent 4-wheel drive system. And this utilises a front open diff with an electronic ESP system that isn't the most effective, I must admit, but the rear diff for the electric unit is very, very good. So that will lock up both the wheels on the back, or interchange between the wheels on the back where needed. So it's a very cool system. And again, this will come in time. You'll get to see more of this. And then you have the ZEV version, which is the low emission version or no emission version, which is where you can drive on the battery. And I found approximately the battery lasts around a mile. Mine is at 89% health out of a total of 100. So when you add that over the amount of years this car has aged, which is roughly around 12 or so, that's really good. And this also has the pan roof, which is directly above me here as well, which, unlike my Citroen, does work, which is quite a nice benefit. But there we are. Let's throw the key in the ignition and let's show you the initial dial, because this is really quite cool. A little start up, so get it in there. Get the ignition on, and then you put your foot on the brake, and that is it on. Believe it or not. And what we have here is we have the sat-nav, and we also have the heads-up display, which were both optional on most of the lower spec models, so it has both of those, which is really cool. And there we are. There's our central driving screen there. Obviously, you can change up between the settings, and you can obviously have that cycling on the screen up here as well, which is on there at the moment, 0 emissions. But it's a nice cockpit, you know. It's a really nice place to be. Flappy paddles on the steering wheel as well. I would say it's quite a nice place to be, you know. It's alright. Obviously, we're coupled with full leather in this interior. The driver's seat's electric and heated. The passenger is manual and heated. Lovely, pristine condition interior in this car. It is really, really nice. I would say the interior itself makes more than up for it for the price I paid. The air conditioning works as well. That works really well. It's honestly a really nice place to be. Genuinely, I'm not even being opinionated due to my love for French. It's nice. It's a really nice place to be. But this is it. This is a early pre-facelift Peugeot 3008 Hybrid 4. This basically couples a very reliable 2-litre HDI engine with a electric rear motor, providing standard around 200 horsepower and exceptionally good fuel efficiency. The road tax for this car is only £20, which makes it incredibly good value for money for its age. And fuel efficiency, I'm seeing well beyond the average diesel Peugeot of this sort of size and calibre as well. This is top spec, and it is also in the optional white pearl as well, which is a really nice colour. And it just blends in really well with the chrome, the black inlays, and the white car. So it does look really, really decent. And this is not only cheap to run, but of course is four-wheel drive and can be permanent four-wheel drive even when the hybrid battery is low. So I'm really excited about this because I'm going to get to show you so much about this car. We're going to get to look at the hybrid system in depth. We're going to get to look at maintenance. We're going to get to look at the off-road abilities later down the line. And yeah, I'm really excited. I really think it's worth the £2,500 I spent. So there we are. That is my 3008. And was it worth the money I spent on it? What do you think? It is a lot of car, and like I said, it's going to be a lot to show you as the season with this car progresses. And there are a few things to come. I'm just going to highlight the biggest and main thing that is going to be changed with this vehicle. The main thing is we are going to be lifting this car. Now you're thinking, oh, what a waste of time. I don't want to go madly off-road. That's not the idea. I'm not going to go trail beating, because I tell you what, it will fall apart. The ground clearance underneath currently is not the best, with it being lower on the back, and also generally isn't that good. But we will be doing a 1.5 inch, quote me on that, lift on this car. So that will include a tyre change along with a suspension overhaul and upgrade. So we will be doing a spacer lift kit, subframe lift kit, and also brand new suspension overall. Now that is actually beginning this week. Not the lift side of things, but the replacement of a lot of the suspension is going to begin now. I'm going to replace all the suspension first and then do the shock springs lift kit subframe spacers last. So hopefully in the next month's time we should have a fully lifted 3008, and as far as I'm aware I should be one of the first to have ever lifted at least lifted a hybrid 4 anyway. So yeah, I'm super excited, and I think it's going to be very practical for what I need, but also going to bring a lot of very cool content to the channel. So for now, this is my new project, and again, file your comments below, because I know that some people are going to be a bit upset, because this sort of car is what led partially to the demise of the current car market. There's too many of these about, and I get it, but it's practical as a daily for now. It means I can get something very sporty for the weekend as well, and actually it being all-wheel drive and a little bit different, being a diesel hybrid, I don't think it's all that too bad compared to some of the modern day front-wheel drive lifted crap that doesn't even do anything purposefully off-road. So we will be pushing this car to the limit within reasons and testing it completely. So all I'm going to say is it's an exciting series, and I'll see you in my very next video coming up soon.